Hi, everybody. It's Seth. Thank you so much for taking a second to look at our systems map. We're incredibly excited. We spent months working on this, have interviewed well over 100 people, have put a few hundred hours into creating it, and we are really hoping that it can create a strategy for our community of defining what our North Star is and identifying places of leverage. So we're asking you for feedback today, making a short little video here to show you how the map works and how presentation mode on the map works. And then would love to really just have you dig into it and give us your feedback. So in Kumu, which is the platform we use to build this, we've put text on the side panels and extra links down here. If you ever want this to go away, you can click that button or bring it back. And the big things here is our map has factors that are labeled with different forces. So the yellow is our deep structure. The blue are forces that heal trauma. The orange are our unexamined beliefs. The red are our unexamined responses to people in trauma. Any gray factors are indicators of health of our local system, and they're things that can be measured. And anything with a green halo around it is where bias or racism is especially pronounced in our community. You can click to the right here to move back and forth. We're asking, as you look at this map, please jot down your thoughts on the following questions. We want to know what most resonated with you. We want to know what surprised you. We want to know what's missing from the map. We really want to use your expertise to tell us from your experiences you are missing these forces or factors from the map. And then a bonus question, when you're reading these stories and understanding these challenges, what are existing solutions that have gotten proven results that are related to the things you read about in the map? We're going to take your feedback. We're going to actively update and improve the map. So whether you can spend 3 minutes or 20 minutes on this, we really appreciate any amount of time you can put towards it. So this is our core story. Again, you can read through in more depth and see links, but how you kind of read these systems maps is there's a factor and then a plus or minus. This means that there's unaddressed trauma in our community. The plus means that as this goes up, the minus means this goes down. So more trauma means less safe and stable environments and relationships. Less safe environments and safe relationships means more unmet physical, emotional needs and social needs. Higher unmet needs means lower community capacity. And we define community capacity as the community's ability to respond to challenges and overcome them. And then less community capacity means more unaddressed trauma. And as you can see, this can create a vicious circle or a vicious story, a vicious feedback loop. And kind of everything builds off this core story. We have done a mode called focus. Basically, every loop you see is a closed story, but they all combine to make a broader map. And so you can click through here and see all the different stories that we have. For example, this one is called It's Stressful to Be Alone. So healthy relationship patterns, when healthy relationship patterns are decreased, we have more toxic stress. More toxic stress leads to more negative coping behaviors, such as substance use, violence, interpersonal drama, gang activity. All those things are negative coping behaviors to manage or deal with the stress, the toxic stress that's often unmanageable. Higher negative coping behaviors means more use of punishment as a tool for learning. Punishment is great for telling people what not to do, but in our community, it does not teach people what to do or build skills. More use of punishment equals higher segregation and isolation of people in trauma. More segregation and isolation of people in trauma means less healthy relationships. Again, a vicious cycle. And again, that what I'm narrating for you right now is all typed out here in text on the left. You can see how this connects back to our core story. And the same thing we just talked about, higher unaddressed trauma leads to higher toxic stress. Higher toxic stress leads to more negative coping behaviors. And then these negative coping behaviors, again, the gang activity, the violence, the substance use, 3 paths that all lead to less safe environments and less safe relationships. It either reduces more negative coping, reduces your healthy relationship patterns like friends and mentors, and more negative coping behaviors reduces your supportive community networks. This next story and feedback loop is the story of generational trauma. Lower safe environments and lower stable relationships means a reduced development of social, emotional, and soft skills, also known as executive functionings. The lower your soft skills are, the lower your capacity for supportive caregiving is, and the higher chance there'll be unmet physical, emotional, social needs, both for the caregiver, the parent, or the child. And that feeds back into our core story. So this is kind of the story of teen pregnancy, the story of parenting in high stress. And as you see the whole map, these soft skills connect to a lot of different factors. Next loop and stories about generational poverty. So same story, and you can click plus and minus out here to zoom in and out so you can see things better. But this story, less safe environment and stable relationships means lower social, emotional, and soft skills. These soft skills feed on the last story, feed down to less supportive caregiving or less supportive parenting, and also feed directly to less capacity for learning. So these soft skills really impact us both in parenting and in relationships and in school and job skills. So lower soft skills, lower capacity for learning. Lower capacity for learning means lower educational attainment. Lower educational attainment means higher poverty. Higher poverty means higher consequences for failure. If you mess up, you lose everything, so you can't take as many risks. When you have higher consequences for failure, you have less access to try new things, less access to resources, to new people, to new knowledge, and less new experiences means less ability to self-determine, and less ability to self-determine means lower community capacity. And then it feeds back into our core story. So as you can see, you can read these plus and minuses to view which way the story is going. This final one I'll narrate here is high unmet physical, emotional, and social needs means high dependence on available resources. High dependence on available resources, whether that's government resources, nonprofit resources, means you have high consequences for failure. When you're dependent on someone else, you can't take as many risks. High consequences for failure, less access to try new things, lower ability to self-determine, lower community capacity. It can also be when you have high unmet physical, emotional, and social needs. That directly just means you have less access to try new things, to explore new things, to learn new things. So this story is the opposite of self-determination, is dependence. And so for people in our community that have high unaddressed trauma, they experience a lack of self-determination and a high level of dependence. So there's about 15 stories in all. I won't narrate them all right now, but you can literally put your cursor or put your finger on the screen and trace. And as you're tracing it, say to yourself, okay, this is plus, so this is going up. This factor is going up. This is a minus, so this factor is going down. And trace all the way around so you understand the story. And then if you need more description, read through over here. Some of the stories are much simpler. Others are more complex. I'll summarize the remaining ones, but not read through each individual factor. So this story is how we punish and then repunish people who are in trauma and people who have a lot of negative coping behaviors. And it's a vicious cycle where you continue to get punished and never experience any healing. This story is about how powerful second chances are and how it's our belief that poor outcomes are a result of people's bad choices leads us to provide less second chances, less time and space to make mistakes. And so even though second chances are very powerful, we don't afford those opportunities to people in trauma in our community. This is the story of the blame game, how we expect people to be able to overcome adversity alone and without support. And because of that, we place a lot of blame on parents and providers, whether that's teachers or healthcare professionals who work with people with high unaddressed trauma. And it's just this blame game creates a vicious cycle where people have less second chances, they have less support, and we're not only blaming the people in trauma, but the people that care for them. This story is called Too Heavy to Hold. And it's just that existing systems don't know how to respond to toxic stress and puts a big strain on the systems. So in conclusion, here's the entire map at the end. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can see how all the loops fit together. And then we really appreciate your feedback. So please email us your feedback. There'll be a link in here when you